Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you love captivating stories about men transforming into women in unique and fascinating ways, then be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Now, let's jump right into today's tale.
Hannah's bare feet slapped against the cold pavement as she sprinted down the quiet street, her oversized sweatpants doing their best impression of a practical joke. Every third step threatened to send her face first into the concrete, which would be just perfect given how this night was going. "Stupid pants," she muttered, hitching them up for the 1,000th time. "Stupid spell, stupid perfect proportions that make nothing fit right." The cool night air nipped at her exposed skin, making her shiver. Her new body seemed to feel everything more intensely, the bite of the cold, the rough texture of the pavement under her feet, even the whisper of her ridiculous hair against her back. It was like someone had cranked up all her sensory dials to 11. "This is ridiculous," she panted, her new voice coming out in melodic little gasps that made her sound like she was auditioning for a romance novel audiobook. "I sound like I'm about to burst into song, about finding true love or befriending woodland creatures." She clutched her spellbook tighter against her chest, trying to ignore how different that felt now. The leather-bound tome that had always felt comfortably heavy now seemed to weigh a ton in her dainty arms. Every attempted reversal spell had backfired spectacularly. The last one had just made her hair shinier, which she definitely didn't need. Left, right, left, right. She coached herself, focusing on not tripping over her own feet. Her new center of gravity was all wrong, and her hips seemed determined to sway with every step like they were following their own choreography. "Stop that," she hissed at her hips. "This is not a catwalk." A car drove past, and the driver did such an obvious double take that Hannah was surprised his neck didn't snap. The wolf whistle that followed made her cheeks burn with embarrassment and anger. "Oh, sod off," she yelled after the car, her voice hitting notes that could probably shatter glass. "I'm having a crisis here." Her mother's house wasn't far now, but every step filled her with more dread. She could already picture the scene. Showing up on her mum's doorstep looking like this, trying to explain how she'd managed to turn herself into what appeared to be every man's dream woman, including, apparently, her best friends. "Oh, God, Craig," she groaned, remembering the way he'd looked at her. That was something she was absolutely not going to think about right now. Or ever. Especially not the way her stomach had fluttered when he'd called her gorgeous, or how her skin had tingled under his gaze. Or, "Nope," she yelped, picking up speed. "Not thinking about that. Not thinking about how my best mate looked at me like I was dessert. Not thinking about how I kind of liked it. Definitely not thinking about, She stumbled, her sweatpants finally winning their battle with gravity and sliding down to her ankles. Hannah hopped awkwardly to a stop, yanking them back up with one hand while trying to keep hold of her spellbook with the other. "This is a nightmare," she muttered, tightening the drawstring with fingers that felt too small and delicate to be useful. "A perky, perfectly proportioned nightmare. Mum's going to have a field day with this one." She could already hear her mother's voice. "Oh, sweetheart, what have you done now? Although I must say, your hair looks fabulous. Have you considered keeping it? Don't even joke about that." Hannah told the imaginary version of her mother. "I refuse to spend the rest of my life looking like I walked out of a magazine. These curves are a health hazard." As if to prove her point, she had to dodge around a lamppost that seemed to leap out of nowhere, her new body moving with a grace she hadn't asked for, and definitely didn't want. Everything felt too light, too soft, bouncy. Hannah ducked into an alleyway, like she was auditioning for a spy movie, pressing herself against the brick wall and checking for witnesses. The last thing she needed was someone recording this on their phone. Gorgeous blonde attempts magic in alley was not the kind of viral video she had in mind. "Right then," she muttered, fumbling with her spellbook. Her new fingers, though annoyingly dainty, managed to flip it open. The pages glowed with a soft blue light that made her look like she was reading the world's most dramatic novel. Time to fix this disaster before I end up on the cover of Witch Weekly's Magical Mishaps section. She traced her finger across the ancient text, trying to ignore how soft and smooth her skin felt now. Okay, reversal spell number 1. Please work. Please work. Please don't make this worse. The air shimmered around her like a disco ball had exploded. And for a moment, hope fluttered in her chest. The familiar tingle of magic danced across her skin, making her shiver. Nothing happened except her hair getting slightly shinier, which was the magical equivalent of putting a bow on a train wreck. Oh, come on, she hissed, flipping pages so frantically she nearly tore one. I refused to be stuck, looking like I walked out of Craig's dreams. She paused, then added quickly, not that I know what Craig dreams about. Definitely haven't thought about that. Nope. The second attempt hit her like a magical freight train. Power surged through her new body, making every curve tingle with energy. For a brief, glorious moment, she thought it was working. Instead, her eyelashes got longer. Are you kidding me? Hannah groaned, banging her head against the wall, then immediately regretting it because apparently her new body bruised if you looked at it wrong. What's next? Am I going to start sparkling in sunlight? That's when her eyes landed on the animal transformation section. A risky idea began forming in her mind, like a light bulb flickering to life above her head. Except knowing her luck right now, it would probably turn into a halo. Okay, think this through, she told herself, her new voice making even her internal monologue sound like a Disney princess. Animal transformations always reset you to your original form. So if I turn into something else and change back? She bit her lip, then immediately stopped because it felt too pouty and perfect. Right, cat spell it is. Because this night clearly needed more pussy. She cut herself off, blushing furiously. Nope, not finishing that thought. Thanks for that one, new hormones. The transformation into a cat was smooth and familiar. One moment, she was a petite blonde bombshell. The next, she was a sleek black cat with whiskers and attitude. It felt almost comfortable compared to her current situation. Meow, she said, which in cat speak translated roughly to please, let this work, or I swear I'm going to knock every spellbook off every shelf in existence. The reversal spell tingled through her fur like static electricity. Her body stretched and shifted, magic swirling around her like a glittery tornado. And then, oh, you have got to be joking. Hannah was back, in all her perfectly proportioned glory. She stared down at herself in disbelief, taking in the curves that refused to quit, and the hair that somehow still looked perfect despite everything. This is impossible, she squeaked, her voice hitting notes that probably had bats covering their ears. The spell thinks this is my natural form? What kind of magical nonsense? Did the universe just decide I needed an extreme makeover? And she ran her hands through her hair in frustration, then immediately regretted it because of course it fell back into perfect waves. This is not happening. This cannot be happening. I refuse to be stuck as some sort of walking fantasy. The implications of the failed reset hit her like a slap in the face. If this was her root form now. Nope, she declared, grabbing her spellbook and breaking into a run. Not dealing with this. Not thinking about it. Not contemplating why the magic thinks this is my true form. And definitely not thinking about how Craig looked at me when she stumbled slightly. Especially not thinking about that. She sprinted out of the alley, her new body moving with a grace that made her want to scream. Mom better have answers, she muttered. Because if she doesn't, I'm going to have to explain to Craig why his best mate is suddenly his dream girl, and I am not ready for that conversation. The night air whooshed past her as she ran, carrying away a string of colorful curse words that somehow managed to sound melodic even when they definitely shouldn't have.